Hey, this is Erin Enderlin, and you're listening to Pickin' It Out with Andrew Pope.
Well, it's another podcast. Gonna be picking it out. Yeah, it's just another podcast. Gonna be picking it out. Yeah, we got Erin Enderlin in the house. Yeah, and we're gonna be picking it out. Well, hey, y'all.
Yes.
My name is Andrew Pope, and I appreciate y'all tuning in to another episode of Picking It Out. Whether you're watching or listening, don't really matter. Let me bring this in a little closer. I barely got enough room to burp in here. Well, we're going to have a fun today. We got this really, really talented young lady here, songwriter, singer. She's been doing this a long time. I love some of her songs that she's written. I think there's few songwriters in the Nashville scene these days. Maybe there's a little more now than maybe, 10 years ago, but there's few that really have substance to their songs. So we're real excited to welcome Erin Enderlin on Picking It Out.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for doing it. And third time's the charm, like I said. We had some technical difficulties because technology is technically difficult.
That's
It's about
true.
the conclusion I've come
It
to.
is indeed.
So what's been going on? You said you're in Arkansas right now.
I am. I'm in Arkansas, and we just had the Arkansas Country Music Awards Monday. I was lucky enough to take home a couple awards there, Songwriter of the Year and Entertainer of the Year.
Awesome.
And yeah, and more importantly, I got to celebrate my grandma's birthday this last weekend. So
My grandma's birthday was 2 days ago.
that's awesome.
How
So
weird is
we're
that?
very close. This universe.
Oh, yeah. It's, and I'm very close with my grandmother, always have been. You're from Arkansas, right?
I am.
What part?
I grew up mostly in Conway.
Okay.
I lived in Little Rock and Hot Springs a little bit too.
Old Ed Bruce is from Arkansas.
Oh yeah,
Man, what a
love
great,
it.
my God, what a voice he had. Like, I feel like him and like Don Williams, had like the richest voices for country music that just instantly that it's them singing. And a great writer as well. I mean, he wrote, of course, some huge songs, but a few years ago, I'm trying to think of the city that him and his wife lived in. It's out kind of in the middle of Tennessee. You know how you can kind of get out between Knoxville and Nashville, and there's a lot of nothing out there but just land. He's out there somewhere close to where Ward Davis lives. It may be in the same town Ward Davis lives in, actually. But I wrote with him one day. I drove out there, and we never did finish the song. He said he hadn't written in a while, and mainly I just loved hearing him pick his guitar up and sing in the living room in that little log cabin. And
Man, that's so cool.
he had a belt buckle. He had like a coffee table in the middle of the room, and he had a belt buckle from every country he's been to.
That's awesome.
Who has that?
I don't know. Like, where do you even find belt buckles? I guess if you're on a mission,
Oh yeah, yeah. It's kind of like a lost art. I feel like, these people used to make hats and all these leather guys and everything. I mean, there's just not a lot around that I know of anymore.
Yeah. I got a friend, Austin Whaler, out in Colorado. He makes some awesome leather tool work, maybe a guitar strap. I love that stuff.
You know Cody Hickson?
I don't.
He's in Nashville. He made some stuff. He made me a guitar strap, but I can't remember. I think Shooter Jennings is what got me into him, because he's done a lot of stuff for Shooter.
That's awesome.
But congratulations on the award you took home last night. That's really awesome.
Thank you. I love getting to represent Arkansas out in country music. We got a lot of good stuff here.
Oh yeah. There's how many years did it take you to realize what you think you were meant to do?
It was interesting because I fell in love with country music really, really young. And like, I remember watching Reba McEntire on the Nashville Now show and thinking, I want to do that. Mm-hmm. When I looked up what the episode was, I would have been like 4 years old. I started playing music really young and doing all that. I don't know. I think later in high school, I had a guitar teacher when I was 13 who he had played some with like Emmylou Harris and Chet Atkins and stuff. And I was, trying to get him to help me put the melodies that I was hearing to these songs and stuff. And he was like, people do this for a living. People write songs and do this and whatever. And I think that's when I started to kind of make the connection of like, oh, okay, this is like a career and people do this. Cause right. When you're little and you see all this stuff, I don't know, it kind of seems like magic or something.
Yeah. When did you move to Nashville? Like, when did you really get serious with it?
When I was 18, I moved to Nashville and I went to school at MTSU and just started digging in as much as I could, going out and seeing shows and meeting anybody I could to talk to and learn from. And I was lucky enough to get hooked up with a great publisher. I guess the third year I was there, and my senior year in college, Alan Jackson recorded my song Monday Morning Church with Patty Loveless and put it out. So I got to go into writing full time.
I love that song too. That's a great song, man. Your third year is when he cut that, the third year.
It was my fourth year there, but I got to demo that song my third year there, and it had been on hold for a couple of different people, and he ended up cutting it my spring break of my senior year in college.
That's really cool. I can't imagine how you felt.
It was really wild.
It was a number one, right?
And number 4.
Number 4.
But number 1 in my heart.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like you said, it's allowed you, to do this really now. So
yeah,
I've always really admired Alan for, just standing up not only for country music, but for his friends, for things that he just thought was bullshit, like one of the AC, you remember one of the ACMs?
George, yeah.
The one with Choices.
They wanted George Jones to just sing like a chorus of Choices or something like that as they're going to a commercial break. And George was like, the hell with that.
Yeah.
Which I totally understand. He's George freaking Jones.
Right.
And so Alan just switched over from his song to Choices and just walked out of there.
Yeah. I'll never forget that.
That was incredible.
And I remember one before that, they a lot of the bands back then, I guess, to save time and on the shows and everything, from switching back and forth. They would have the audio tracks, and sometimes they would even, not even be singing. It'd just be up there going through the motions kind of thing. But I think on this one was he was supposed to sing, and the band was going to be behind him, but it was actually a track playing. It wasn't the band playing. Yeah. So they didn't have all the stuff hooked up. And the drummer is like directly behind him. He told his drummer to go out there without any sticks, but play like with air sticks. So the whole time you see Alan Jackson around his head, and the drummer's back there like doing this and no sticks.
Yes.
And
oh my God, I love it.
This shit like that. I mean, you got to respect somebody like that. And
so good.
It's not something really that you would think would be typical of a guy like him, but I've always kind of respected him for that, because not a lot of people would have the guts to do that. So
yeah,
since then I'm sure that opened up a ton of opportunities, and I know you've had multiple songs recorded by multiple artists, but how long did it take from then to like the next time you got something cut by somebody?
Randy Travis cut one of my songs 2 months later. And
wow.
Then I got a record deal on RCA Records. I got an artist development deal. And I'd had a couple of bites, but it's one of those things where actually the first song I ever had on hold was for Patty Loveless. She ended up cutting it, but I just thought that was so cool. And then Trish Yearwood took one of my songs in the studio, but I guess it didn't, I don't think she ended up keeping anything from that session. But had those Alan and Randy back to back, and then did the deal, and then with RCA, and then Terry Clark cut one of my songs, and she had actually had Monday Morning Church on hold when Alan cut it. But it was one of those deals where, sometimes the labels, they have real specific timelines on when they're doing everything. And,
oh yeah.
So she wasn't really sure when she was going to get to go in the studio next. And Keith Stegall was producing her and Alan. So he played it for Alan, and Alan liked it. And so, the country artists, they're really respectful of writers and what you're doing. And so she said it was fine for him to cut it because he was going in the studio a lot sooner, and she didn't know, what would be the deal. So, and with Terry, it might have been another year or two.
Yeah. Well, that's a lot of, it's always interesting to talk to other songwriters, because, once you have that big hit, it gets your name out there, it gets you working more, it gets you singing more demos, whatever the case may be, and it all leads to the next one. But some people there's like a huge gap in between that. I mean, even, like really big hit songwriters.
Oh yeah.
And so it's always interesting to find out like the momentum kind of after that, but did Alan ever, did you ever talk to him after?
I did. It was funny actually. I got a call one morning. It was like 8:00 in the morning, and I'd been playing out the night before and stuff. So I wasn't even up yet, and answered, and they were like, well, is this Erin? Alan wants you to come to his show tonight. And I was just thinking, well, I don't know anybody named Alan. It's like, does Alan Reynolds, is he producing like a new act or something that's going on? And I was just waking up, and I said, well, I don't know. I got people coming into town. I have to call you back. And I hung up, and I was like, wait, Alan Jackson's playing in town tonight, but I didn't even have enough money to get tickets to the show, because, you don't get paid for the songs out on the radio for like a year.
Yeah.
And I called her back, and I said, I'm sorry, I think I'm an idiot. You didn't mean Alan Jackson, did you? And she goes, yeah. And he said he'd leave a bunch of tickets for you at will call, so you can just bring whoever's coming to town with you. And got to go back and meet him. And he said, nice song, keep it country.
Yeah.
And found out years later, I got to go see him get inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame. And he told the story that when he had George Jones come out for his Don't Rock the Jukebox video, he asked George if he had any advice for a young artist, and George said, keep it country. So I got secondhand George Jones advice from Alan Jackson.
Yeah.
Not bad.
That's cool. Has he listened to any more of your songs that you know of?
Yeah, he's almost cut one of them several different times. They even called me for this last record wanting to get a copy of the lyrics again and see it, but it hadn't quite made it. And that song is kind of a weird one because it's the song I've had recorded the most, but it's never come out. Wow. And I've had a couple like that, but I think it's going to find its right place one of these days.
It's kind of wild how it works, isn't it? I mean, I've not had the success, as a songwriter that you have. John Schneider's been my biggest advocate so far. That's awesome. He's recorded like 3, I think, of my songs, and it's a huge honor, and he's just a great guy. Great guy, but he had some huge songs in the 80s. He was always a good song picker. He could pick the great song. That's what he said. Conway told him he knew how to find a good song, and he still does. A great writer too, great actor and all that. But
we've threatened to write a couple times. I need to get a hold of him. He's such a cool dude.
Yeah, he is. He's got so much, like he's into making movies, appearances, doing shows. We did some shows with him, before COVID and all that. We'll probably do some more, but it's like it's people that don't know the music business don't really get it. It don't just have to be, a good song. I think in the end it comes back to, for me, it's got to be a good song that people can relate to. But when you throw the business part of it in there, it could be something that's just needed at the time, and everything just hits just right. Like 5 o'clock somewhere. I heard.
I was just playing in the car.
Oh, really? That the whole story about how that song, came about. I mean, they didn't think they were going to ever get that cut, but it turns out Alan Jackson wanted a song like that, and he wanted to record with Jimmy Buffett. So people don't really, think about all that, but that's kind of the music business part of it. And then you got
Moose Brown, who co-wrote that, has been one of my biggest supporters and produced a couple records on me.
Oh, I love him. I met him like 5 or 6 years ago. We were supposed to write, and then things kept happening. He was actually going to come to Muscle Shoals, and we're going to write with my friend Mark Narmore. You probably know Mark.
Yeah, I know who he is. He's an awesome writer.
You got to get with him too. He would love it. Like he's good. Josh Turner's recorded like something, they write together all the time, and Josh Turner's recorded something, I think, on every album except for one that he's ever done.
That's awesome.
Mark's a great guy. But, it's Terry Clark. I've always really liked her too, and I've heard I've never met her, but I've heard she's a really good person,
I love Terry. She's one of my best friends now, and I always loved her music, and she was a big influence on me because, she was a woman playing guitar and singing stuff that was maybe a little edgier, because I'm a real tomboy and kind of, I like to tell it like it is. I'm not, but she always had those amazing guitar riffs and stuff. I'm not as good a guitar player as she is, but I love watching her play. And she's actually recorded more songs of mine than anybody. Now I've been lucky enough to get 7 Terry Clark cuts, and got to write quite a few of those with her. Yeah. She's awesome.
Yeah, she's unique, I think, too. Her voice has got one of those voices that everybody had their own voice at a certain time. It didn't everybody sound like just the same thing like you do hear a lot of times now, which I don't even listen to country radio anymore, but I hadn't in years.
One of the things I love about her too is like she can go play, like Billy Bob's or something honky tonk and burn it down. Mm-hmm. But she can also go out. She's been doing these acoustic tours for a while and sit there and, just burn down the house, just her in an acoustic too.
Yeah. I didn't even know that. I don't think that she could play. I mean, I knew she could play guitar, but I didn't know that she was really that good at it.
Yeah, she plays a lot of the stuff on her records.
Really? Mm-hmm. Did she write any of her early hits?
Oh yeah. She wrote, I actually did a thing, during Women's History Month. I got to partner with, Change the Conversation and write up some really cool, I got to really dive into some amazing artists and writers. And I think she wrote 15 of her hits, 12 or 15 of her singles.
Wow.
And, she wrote, If I Were You, she wrote that one all by herself when she was like 18.
That's a good song. Wow. I didn't know that. That's kind of like the Clint Black thing.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's rare. You get a big record deal. I mean, you're not going to get your songs cut most of the time. Mm-hmm. Especially if you're a newcomer. I mean, it's just, they're going to do whatever they think, So that's a really...
There's some really amazing writers in Nashville. I do think that that's maybe, if people are allowed to write more, and I mean, I certainly haven't written a ton by myself, although I'm working on a new project right now and a couple of the songs on it I wrote by myself. I've been trying to get back into that more. There's something really awesome about co-writing, and you can, especially if you're writing a whole lot, and to help finish a song and things, but there's also something really unique about writing by yourself. And I think, especially for artists who write, it really helps to figure out who you are. Like you said, having that really unique voice, having that different sound.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree.
I don't think people realize how small the pool of writers and players and stuff is in Nashville.
No, they don't. They don't have any idea about any of that. It's kind of, and it's almost like it's got smaller even.
Oh yeah. Even when it was way bigger than it is now, with being able to make your living as a writer, which we know we could do a whole podcast series on that. But I read in the newspaper in Nashville that you had a better chance of starting for the NFL than being a writer and making your living doing that. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate, I think.
But we don't have the knee problems, so there's that.
Yeah, that's true. You may have to see a therapist the rest of your life.
But, the brain problems.
But co-writing, I mean, if you've got good chemistry with your co-writer, there's nothing like it. I mean, that is therapy for me.
Yeah.
But then I agree with what you said about writing by yourself. I was not confident enough to believe in my songs enough early on, 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. Once I started co-writing with people, and the manager I had at the time, would set me up with these Nashville writers, I realized how it all worked. I put everything together, and then I could write by myself. I could take, the idea, and I just knew how to structure it better. I knew how to just make it a better song. And now I know how to do that. But it has to hit, does it for you? Like, it has to hit you. I can't just sit down and try.
I've done it both ways. I won't say I'm not as consistent as some Nashville writers, but I do think that going in and sharpening your pen every day does have its merits. And I've been a staff writer. I've been in Nashville for about 21 years now, and I was a staff writer for a long time. And I guess I still am, but only for myself, which is a different story. But because I really wanted to start putting out my own records, and every time I'd sign a publishing deal, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, we get that. Well, you want to tour, you want to write." And then as soon as I'd sign that paperwork, they were like, "Okay, well, we're going to need you here 5 days a week writing." Right. Yeah. Which doesn't really work out with touring, but so I've taken a little time to do that myself. But I learned so much from those staff deals and getting to go in every day and write. And also not just from the writing, but like the songs, they play other people's demos, or like I was at Universal for quite a long time, and they had I still wish I had could just go over there. They had a demo room, tape room. And after I'd write, I'd go down there and just put headphones on and just listen to people's demos.
Mm-hmm.
And, like they had, Dean Dillon's like entire catalog down there, and Josh Keir, tons of other people. And so that was a big part of it. And just, I don't know, hanging around other writers. I mean, I used to go, there was a time I'd go to my office and Bob McDill would be there half the time.
Wow.
And it's like just being in the same room with that guy, it's like, what? It just shook me right off my access talking about Bob McDill.
Yeah, you probably just wanted to write everything down that he
Tracy
said.
Berg is one of my favorite writers, and I'd go out and watch her shows and just really soak it in. And there's definitely something to be said about that. And I've learned a lot from co-writers.
Yeah, I have too. I sitting in a room with Bob McDill, you probably just like have to have a notebook ready, because just telling you a conversation about his dog, it would probably come out so poetic. I could imagine,
Be like, can you say that again?
Yeah. Let me get that out one more time. Okay. Got it. Yeah.
It's so funny. And all those guys, I mean, you know how it is. It's one of the things I love about country music, that everybody's so down to earth and humble about what they're doing. I'd go in there and make a cup of coffee, and Bob would start talking to me, and I'd be like, "You're Bob McDill? Like, I can't talk to you. I don't know." I was lucky enough to get to know Merle Haggard some, and I remember being out there rhyming and being backstage, and guy came over and was like, "Do you mind if I sit on the couch with you or whatever?" And I was like, "You're Red Lane. You can do whatever you want. I'll get up. I'll go get you another couch."
That had to be wild. How did you meet Merle?
Yeah. I am good friends with one of Merle's bus drivers, Ray Macdonald. He's one of my favorite people. He's got a really cool book out right now too. But Ray, he lived with he moved in with Haggard when he was 14, back before, Haggard was Haggard, and worked for him pretty much his whole life. And he's got just some amazing stories. And I just love Ray. I met him out at a show I played with Jamie Johnson out in Pozo, California. And we just were hanging out after the show and connected. And so through hanging out with him, I've ended up being able to hang out around Merle. So
that's really cool. I got to meet Merle through Jeff Cook.
Oh yeah,
a few years ago.
That's awesome.
We had actually talked. He told me a crazy. I've told this before, but you'll appreciate it too. We were standing there talking, and he just out of the blue, he was like so intense. If he's looking at you, he's really listening, and he's just like sizing you up, kind of. Like he's just really intense. Like you don't know what he's thinking. But he started telling me about, it was after he had got so sick the first time when they canceled like a whole run of shows. This was the first show back, and it was at sound check that day. So the band and Raymond was there. I met him, and Ben was there, and they were setting up the folding chairs on the floor. And Merle was sitting in one of them down there doing something on his phone, and Jeff was sitting by him, because Jeff Cook would go play. Back then, if he was off and Merle came close by, Jeff would go sit in and kind of sit in the corner and have him a little amp and just play. And Merle would recognize him during the show, and they were pretty close. But Merle starts telling me about the spider that followed him in his hotel room underneath the door. And he said, "We just don't have spiders like that in California." And he said, I guess if I go crazy, just tell everybody I'm all right. And then we kind of looked at each other like that Dewey Cox, like Lost in the,
Yes.
I said, hell, that sounds like a song. I mean, I was scared to say it even, but yeah, maybe so, He wrote down his number and handed it to me and just walked off. He said, call me Monday. Just walked off. So I'm sitting here trying to process all that. He had just met me, but he met me through Jeff. It didn't I wasn't standing there for an autograph,
Yeah.
I never called him ever. I was like, he ain't gonna remember who the hell I am.
Should have.
I know everybody said that, but it was like a thing. It's like, he ain't gonna know who I am. I'm gonna make an ass out of myself. But I was wrong. It was just, it was one of them things. But the night that he died, I was listening to Rainbow Stew on vinyl. I've got that vinyl. And I took that idea and I wrote If I Go Crazy, and I put it on my last record. And
That's so awesome, man.
I had James Mitchell come in and do like a Haggard type guitar thing in there, and it's perfect. But still got his number in my phone. I can't bring myself to swap it out of there.
No. Man, that's so cool. I made an ass out of myself a couple times around him, but
he, now I know, like, even if you did, he wouldn't have looked at it that way. He's been there. I mean, when he was around Lefty Frizzell, I can only imagine how he felt, probably the same way. But it's hard to think, like, those guys came from that too. John Anderson talked about when Swinging came out, how scared he was because he said, they put my dumb ass right in the middle of Lefty Frizzell and Loretta Lynn. Put me right in the middle. Boy, Florida boy didn't know. He was scared to death. I mean,
That's so cool.
You forget about that because we grew up with these people. Like, nobody came before them almost, but they really did. I mean, it's just, it's one of those weird things. But yeah, Merle was, I really like Raymond. I had a conversation with him. He probably don't remember me. That's the only time I ever met him. But what a nice guy he was. Really humble. And
he's just one of my favorite people.
I didn't know he had lived with Haggard like that since he was 14, you said?
Yeah, he moved in with him when he was 14. And then for a little while, he lived with Bonnie Owens around the corner.
Oh, my
I went
Lord.
out there, me and my friend Kayla Ray, who I love. And if y'all don't know her music, you would love it too if you like this kind of stuff. But we were touring out in California, so we got to go down to Bakersfield, and Ray took us all over to show us all the cool, all the places we went to go see Haggard's high school. We went to see the bar where he used to sneak in and play pool and stuff when he'd skip school. And like Bonnie Owens' house was literally just a couple of blocks around the corner from where Merle's house was, and Ray's house was right across the street from that. And he had moved in with Merle and then around the corner to Bonnie, and it was so wild. We got to go see so many cool places, and we sat out on the banks of the Kern River for a while, and got to go see Merle's house over there they have like this, it's like a museum park kind of. They got all kinds of cool stuff out there. But
what's the name of his book?
Merle Haggard Was a Friend of Mine, I believe.
I gotta get that.
You ought to have him on your show.
Yes, I definitely should. I'll try to get in touch with him. I'd love to have him on. He was. Really
I love
nice.
his voice, man. I wish he'd do a book on tape with that one.
Oh, like an
But he's
audio?
just got great stories, great stories about the stories behind the songs, and how different connections are made. Kind of like you were saying about who would know that Jeff Cook and Merle Haggard were friends, and he'd go play with them. Just cool stuff like that. You just see how music brings people together. And that magic.
Yeah. And it crosses genres too. Like, genres doesn't even mean a thing. I mean, everybody from Tom Petty to Bob Dylan, has talked about Hank Williams and what a songwriter and artist he was. And that goes a long way. You know, it doesn't matter that he was considered a hillbilly by some, you know, or whatever. He was so young too to write those songs. It just crosses all, you know, I've talked about this with several people. I think music has healed me when nothing else in the world would heal me. Mm-hmm. You know, I feel like there's a spiritual connection because you couldn't feel that way with anything else. And you don't even know what's happening. Like there's been songs, I think that's what has driven me. Like there was something inside of me. You probably feel the same way. I mean, I remember when I was being a kid, just hearing a song and man, it just sticks with you. It's like nothing else. Not looking at a picture or nothing. Just it's just something inside of you.
Especially from growing up. I mean, I'm sure you do too. I remember places I was when I heard a song for the first time.
Oh yeah. And there's no reasonable explanation for that. Nobody can explain that. I think it's just something.
The power of it.
It is. It's so powerful. It's one of the most powerful things on the planet, I think, still. And, you know, when somebody comes up to you and tells you one of your songs made them feel the way that a song made you feel, that's like the whole full thing, is it not?
Oh, yeah. It's so wild. I'll tell you, I got a job working out at the Opry for a while. And part of the reason was I just felt like I still really, really wanted to be an artist because I had this thing where I was waiting for somebody to tell me it was okay to be an artist. I didn't realize still that you could just do it.
Yeah.
And I'd been writing for years and at least a good decade or more. And I just felt really confused about what I was supposed to be doing. And, you know, the kind of music that we love maybe isn't the number one thing everybody's clamoring for right now and different things. And I just thought, you know, I'm going to go get a job as a hostess out at the Opry. I had a friend who worked out there because the Opry is where I fell in love with country music. Mm-hmm. And I feel like if anything can bring me back to where I'm supposed to be, that'll be it. And one day I was standing up front, taking tickets, and we wore these ridiculous outfits. They've upgraded them now, but it looked like you were flipping burgers back in the 70s. You know, it was great. And these 3 teenage girls come up to the door, maybe 17 years old, and they're freaking out. Just, you know, the whole, screaming and all this. And I was like, oh, y'all big fans of Jason Aldean because he was playing that night. And they said, no, you wrote You Don't Know Jack for Luke Bryan. Will you sign our tickets? And I was like, how the hell do you know, like, who I am? Plus, like, I'm not even in any kind of place that you would, you know, it's not like they went to a show knowing I was going to be there. I'm scanning in tickets at the Opry in this crazy outfit. But that's how strong that song connected with them. And,
right.
It's just wild to me.
Yeah. How did you get that cut, by the way? I'm sure people are real curious to know.
That one, I played it for my publisher, and she said, that's too country for Luke. And so I went and played it for his record label, and they said, well, that's too country for Luke. That's not really what he's looking for. And I knew Luke a little bit, and I had his email address, so I emailed it to him. And I said, you know, I don't know if this will be right for you, but it's a great song, and I think you'll like it one way or the other. And he called me about 2 hours later and said, don't play this for anybody else. I'm going to cut it.
Wow. How about that?
Yep.
That's pretty crazy, really,
and
because
not to say that, you know, I'm not trying to throw dirt on anybody, but just to say that, you know, because I know a lot of the folks probably listen to your podcast, they write and do things too. And, you know, every time you hear a no, it's just one more step towards a yes. People don't know.
No.
They're trying to do the best they can or whatever. But if you really believe in something, if you're really passionate about, you just keep going until you find the person that connects with it. That's
very true. I've only done that one time. I've pitched songs directly to artists before. But when I met Willie one time, we had exchanged information, and he said, anytime you want to send me a song, email me. And I'm like, yeah, you know, I met Willie through Bobby Bear. So I never did. And after a few years I had written this song, I told Buddy Cannon about it. I think Buddy liked it, but he said, "You won't believe this, but I just produced this record on this guy with the name is the same title." And I'm like, well, there that goes, because he didn't want to get in any. He didn't want the guy like if Willie.
Well, whatever. If he didn't write them, then
yeah,
and there's plenty of songs with the same title.
It is, but this is a very unique title.
But I know what you mean.
I mean, this is a title that it would have been really weird. I've never heard this title before, and
that's so strange how that happens.
I took it like it was for a reason, I think Willie heard it, and I think he loves it. But ultimately, if Willie wants to do it, he's going to be the one to make the decision, ultimately. Of course, then, now everything like COVID and everything. So I don't know. I'm out of the loop now, but it was weird because when I was writing that song, before I finished it, I was like, Willie. I can just hear Willie doing this and loving this. It reminded me of something he would have written back in the day. But, it's what it is. It's 21 years now. You said you've been in Nashville?
Mm-hmm.
It's a long damn time.
Yep.
It's really not a long damn time for a lot of people, but it sounds like a long damn time.
It's like yesterday and forever all at the same time.
Yeah. Nashville's changed so much now, it's hard to even get around town.
Yeah, it's a lot different.
Need a little whiskey in your coffee in the morning just to go have lunch somewhere, just to get through it. Just miserable. They've got the roads closed and everything, and I can only imagine how it was back in the day, when in the 70s. That had to be the time. You've had what was your last song that you had recorded?
I guess Sunny Sweeney and I wrote a couple songs on her last record. I had a couple about the same time, but I wrote Poet's Prayer with her, and I Drink Well with Others.
I really like her writing and singing too. She's really good.
She's a total badass.
And she's been at it a while too.
Mm-hmm.
Long time, I guess. Probably. I was trying to think when her single. It's like the early 2000s, I think. Maybe 2010 or something. I don't know.
Maybe around then.
Your last record was produced by Jamie, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, Jamie Johnson and Moose Brown.
That's a hell of a team right there.
Yeah.
How'd you get to know Jamie?
I got to know Jamie through Moose way back when he still had a Marine haircut. So, and Moose and I, it's kind of a weird long story about those records because I just got to put them out here in the last couple of years, but I actually recorded them about 10 years ago with the money that I got from Last Call. So I guess Lee Ann Womack should be on there as like executive producer or something. But, so, Moose and I talked about doing this record, and I guess he was talking to Jamie one day, and Jamie was like, well, I want in on this. And Moose called me, and I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
You ain't going to say no to that. I love that.
Yeah, don't threaten me with a good time.
I love the Blind Boys of Alabama record he produced. Have you heard that? Man.
Oh, yeah.
That's something else.
It's so good.
I saw a little behind the scenes video on YouTube one day of all the artists coming in and out of there and everything. And that's just so well put together and different, the catalog that he's got, I know, is beyond. I've heard people tell stories about, man, he would you know, he sang this demo of this song that we wrote or these other people wrote, and I don't know why I just don't put this song out. You know, there's so many of those, and so people are hungry for another Jamie Johnson record, but
yeah,
it'll happen when he's ready for it to happen. I mean, there's no point in rushing it.
yeah. I've been lucky enough to get to tour with him quite a bit, and man, I mean, he does his own songs so great, but he's definitely one of those artists that he loves doing covers, and he really makes them his own.
Oh, yeah.
They're so cool. He sings that Tom Petty song, Top of the World. I mean, to be honest with you, I didn't know. I wasn't that familiar with it, but man, oh my God. It just like blows the windows out when he does it.
He added a horn section and everything. I love it.
Mm-hmm. That's incredible. His band. Ugh.
Oh, yeah. They always have been so tight. And they just kind of follow him, you know. Which, if you've got talented musicians, they're used to being able to do that. I had Billy Earhart on here. I don't know if you know him. He played with Hank Jr. for 20-something years in the Bama Band. And he was talking about Hank didn't go off a set list, and he would, you know, throw a song out there. It might be a cover, it might be his daddy's song, might be one of his, might be one he just had written that week, and they kind of had to follow. But he would also try to throw them off. Like he would try to play Stump the Band.
Of course he would.
He loved it. But he said, we hang in there pretty good. They did too. I mean, he was with them all through the 80s and all that stuff. He was actually a member of the Amazing Rhythm Aces. I'm going to have him back on because I had such a response to it. We're going to do a whole Hank show. I asked him if he was okay with doing that because people wanted it, and he said, yeah, that's what they want. Yeah. Because we just brushed the surface. I mean, we could have talked for hours.
That's killer, man.
But you said you went to MTSU. Have you been? Mm-hmm. I know you have been, but people don't know this. That room back there with the music collection and the old WSM.
Oh, yeah.
My God.
It's insane.
I had no idea that they had all that stuff there. And it's so organized, and it's like everything's stuff I've never even heard of. And I did a radio show there with Justin Reed.
I love Justin.
Oh, you know him?
Uh-huh.
I hadn't talked to him in a while. I would do that about once a year. He took me back there, and it's like a library of cataloged music in different formats. And it's blew my mind.
It's wild.
I couldn't even believe like the stuff they had in there. And then I think it was the old mixing board. Is that what it is? From the first?
I don't know. I remember that.
The first WSM.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's there. It's just sitting there.
Jeez.
You hadn't seen that?
That's so cool. I don't think I've seen that.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure I would remember that.
It's pretty cool.
Maybe somebody didn't tell me what it was. That's amazing.
It's not, I don't even think it works, but they've got it there and it's in pretty good condition. I was thinking to myself, why does Middle Tennessee have this? And I still really don't know, like, why they have that big collection. Do you know?
They've told me, and I can't remember off the top of my head. Is it John Siegenthaler collection or something? I don't know, but there's somebody there. Somebody donated a huge amount of stuff there and kind of started it off, I think, and they've just kept doing it. But I think it's one of the most extensive music collections around.
Yeah, that's what Justin told me. He took me back there, I think the last time I was there, and I wonder what
he would know.
I wonder what he's been up to. Man, he's like an encyclopedia of freaking country music. I mean, I've never seen anything like it to be his age. I'm like, man, you must just live and breathe this stuff, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what he's doing now. He had a show too. Did you? Oh, that's where we met at. That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. Sorry, it's still early, y'all.
It is. It's fine.
It's 12:41, and it's been a long morning, and with technical difficulties. So you said you're working on a new project now?
Yeah.
You gonna
Just about to start doing some getting to announce some stuff about that, and I'm really excited about it.
Awesome. Play us a song if you got a guitar. People would love to hear
I'll
something.
do it.
Whatever you want to play.
I'll play a newer one. All right. Breakfast table, 2 fingers whiskey. I've never felt this empty in the middle of the day. Sign in the front yard says it's all for sale. And if I'm not in heaven, I'm headed that way. Everything reminds me of the one thing that's missing from your cup in the kitchen. These bills I can't pay. Friends say it gets better. I know they mean well, but if I'm not in hell, I'm headed that way. Oh, it's drowning lonely and burns with regret, but it ain't full of fire like that preacher man said. No, it's cold and empty as your side of the bed. Oh, it's drowning and lonely and burns with regret, but it ain't full of fire like that preacher man said. No, it's cold and empty as your side of the bed. Well, I told God I'd be lost without you, so he can't be surprised I'm feeling this way. If it's part of his plan, it's hard to tell, 'cause if I'm not here, I'm headed that way. If I'm not here, I'm headed that way.
Awesome. I love that.
Thank you.
Did you write that by yourself, or is that a co-write?
I wrote that with my buddies Kayla Ray and Kimberly Kelly.
And you mentioned earlier about Kayla Ray. Talk about her. I want people to check out.
She's awesome. And she's got stuff up on all the streaming sites and things. But her writing just kills me. I love it. When we do a lot of shows together, she's like Townes Van Zandt, Guy Clark level writing to me.
Wow.
And I just love her voice too. We have a lot of fun together. And Kimberly is a great artist too. And she actually just signed a record deal, so she's going to be getting some new music out here too soon.
Good.
And I've been listening to some that she's been recording, and it is real good.
Tell her name again.
Kimberly Kelly.
Kimberly Kelly and Kayla Ray. Y'all need to for sure check them out.
Yeah.
What like inspiration for you? Does it hit wherever you're at, like, or is it like something that you try to find if you're sitting down trying to get in a creative mindset?
Sometimes I do try to find it, and a lot of the time I just try to be open to it and just kind of collect ideas.
You have like
you'll hear somebody say something or read something and just hit you a certain way.
Yeah. That's the same for me. I bet you've probably got a list in your phone, like on the notepad, just random.
Oh yeah.
I've got all jumbled up.
I mean, it's like that Luke Bryan song, You Don't Know Jack. I was driving with a friend and we were going to go out to eat, and I saw a big, why is my brain not working now? One of the billboards for Jack FM, and it said, You Don't Know Jack. And I was like, why is this not a country song? And I was like, we're going to go back and write this real quick. Went back and wrote the song.
Yeah. That's how it happens. You know, the Bellamy brothers, David Bellamy, I got to go out to the ranch in Florida a few years ago, and me and him wrote songs all week. And
that's cool.
It was so cool. I love that ranch out there. They've got like an old barn studio, and I mean, they did all their vocals there. They had Jimmy Bowen fly in to that damn barn at their house, and they did the vocals.
That's amazing.
I mean, I'm like, y'all, who has that kind of clout? You know, where instead of going to Nashville, y'all come here, you know. But he talked about writing Sugar Daddy, and he said they were at old Howard Johnson in Knoxville, and they was outside, and somebody had a man and a woman had the hood up on a car, and he said the guy was like a shade tree mechanic, and he said, what you need's a new car. And she said, no, what I need's a sugar daddy. And he wrote it like that night. That shit. I love that, because I've done the same thing. I'm sure you have too, you know, but it's like when you're first learning about all this stuff and these people and they're sharing this thing with you, it's like, really? It came from that? But you learn how to channel it, and you take your ideas, and you know, it can be about a blue shoe, or it can be anything, literally anything. If you put your open, like you said, you got to be open to it. I've got, you've got voice memos, I'm sure, in your phone too. If I'm driving, I'll just jot something down or record like 3 seconds and then go back to it or whatever. I mean, it's like ADD on steroids or something.
Yeah.
Tell everybody where they can go check you out, or.
Yeah. I'm all over the interwebs. I on Facebook and Instagram, Twitter, all that good stuff. And ErinEnderlin.com is up. You can stream me on Spotify and Apple Music, Pandora. That's some pretty cool stuff. I love turning on the Erin Enderlin Pandora channel and see who else they'll put in there with it. It's like cool shit. You know, you hear your song right behind like legends.
Yeah. I've never admitted to listen to pulling my own Pandora station up, but it is kind of just out of curiosity. It's like, okay, who are they going to put with me? You know, they kind of nailed it though. I mean, mine's like, Alabama and Hank Jr. and Waylon and Willie and Haggard and maybe Cody Jinks, maybe Ward Davis. You know, yours is probably Terry Clark, Trisha Yearwood, and like stuff like that. I can hear.
Oh yeah, they've got like Johnny Cash and Christopherson and Crystal Gale and
they got
it's the coolest stuff.
Awesome. Well, I'll check out your Pandora station if you check out mine.
Yes,
that's a song right there. Really enjoyed talking to you today, and thanks for doing the song. And good to see you again, and good luck on the upcoming announcements for your new project. We'll be looking for that.
Awesome. Thank you. I hope I get to see you in person here again.
Yeah, maybe so. Long. Maybe the world's kind of getting back to the world again, and I hope we can. But we appreciate you listening or watching, Picking It Out, and we'll see you next time.